Miss Jenny, I am sure that you are the cutest person that has ever done this. Can I get somebody to help me put this down here? I'd rather feel like I'm down here with you guys. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Richard. Mr. Richard, I heard that you didn't like me at first. Can you move this up here a little bit? Mr. Richard, just move it up a little bit because I'm going to walk back and forth, or I'm going to this up there more, please. Thank you. Yeah, I heard that you didn't like me, that you guys said you already had a missionary in Thailand, and that you didn't like me. Who is this little Mexican girl? And you weren't for it, and now you're my best friend. Now you make me crabs. How awesome. My first time ever having Maryland crabs was from Mr. Richard, and so it's okay. I forgive you because you have a cute wife. I forgive you. She's so sweet and one of the cutest daughters in the world. I'm just so happy to be here. I just feel like I'm with family, and I don't just say that. I really feel like this is my family on the East Coast. I had never been to the East Coast before, and you guys brought me here and brought Life Impact here, and it's been such a pivotal time for our ministry and everything going on. It was God's plan. It's beautiful. I'm going to give you some updates, but and I'm going to show you some pictures of what you've been a part of, but I want you, just from my heart, to know how much this church means to me, how much your pastors mean to me, you're our family. And it's so funny, I just feel like home, and it could be because you're Asian, and I've lived in Thailand for 17 years, and so I'm secretly Asian. I'm Mexican with a white mama, and that speaks Thai, and then secretly Asian culture. I can't wear shoes in houses, I can't, and the crazy thing is I've been here 3 times. This is my 3rd time now. It's my first time to have Maryland crab. I've only had like Korean barbecue, and that's all I've had, and kava and sardies. And so, and I'm like, and we had it. It was great. I was like, but I miss those, they're like Korean tacos that Minju's mom made for me, and it's like a lettuce wrap with meat. I was like, these are just like tacos. It's like Mexican food, but Korean tacos, And so I just love it, and I just feel so warm and welcome. But I want you to know another thing that you're a huge part of. When I came, and many people didn't know this, I shared it at the leadership time with Grace Retreat. And when I came the last time, which would be my 2nd time, I was actually ready to quit, and I was ready to give up. And God was moving. Incredible things were happening. All these different things were moving. But in my heart, I was just super broken. And I remember being on the plane and coming and just feeling like, God, I've lost so much. Like, I just feel like I've lost so much, and pieces of my heart and soul are just gone. And how can I minister, and how can I share like anything to anybody, or how can I be good for any of this, or pretend like I'm excited when I myself am hurting inside? And I just remember just saying that on the plane flying here from Thailand, from Bangkok to LAX, and just a tear just streaming down my face. And I just feel like I have nothing to give. And it was crazy. I turned 40 last year, and a month earlier, Anne and Lam threw a surprise birthday party, and many people here were there, and Minju and Hubert, and nobody knew what I was going through. Nobody, as preachers, you think, okay, I have to put the people first and their needs, and so you kind of just put your needs on the back burner. And we have kids, 145 children, so you just kind of keep pushing through and going. And but I was ready to give up, and at that time, so they threw me a surprise 40th. Don't tell anybody I'm 40. 40th birthday party, and in that they put me in the middle, and everybody just spoke words of life over me, and just spoke words of encouragement over me, and just spoke about the next years of my life and what my life has meant, and different things, and just had words from the Lord. And I just remember Pastor Benjamin, and he was there, and at first I'm like, I don't even know you. You came to my birthday party? Thank you, And it was so sweet, and I'm like, oh, okay. And so, but he just got up and he said, I just declare that your day of mourning is over. Your day of weeping is over. It's time for you to eat the fat, eat the fat, drink the sweet, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. And during that time, with everybody speaking words of life, and that word, it was something was over me, was broken. And there was a time, 3 years ago, my very first time, there was a prophet that came that's really involved with this church, Bob Hartley. And at first I remember sitting back and just thinking, this guy is so weird. Can't everybody see it, Like, what is right? Is it just me? Like, hello? everyone, hello. And like 10 minutes, I'm just like, this is weird. He grabbed my Bible. He's like, can I borrow your Bible? I was like, preachers bring their own Bibles. Like, what is, this guy didn't even bring a Bible? Like, I was just like, who is this? And I remember just thinking that. And then all of a sudden, he started just reading my mail and said, Hope Church is going to be a place where leaders come and they feel safe. And leaders come and they get healed themselves. And it's going to be a safe place, a place of refreshing, a place of relationships, a place of safety, and a place where people sing your song back to you. And in Ann and Lam's living room on my 40th birthday, my song was sung back to me, and pieces of my heart and pieces of my soul and pieces of my dreams came back. God was doing all these things, but I couldn't even get excited about it, and I couldn't even see 5 years, 10 years down the road because I myself was hurting. And I'm telling you, my song got sung back to me, and they kicked it off, and they didn't know, but they did the same thing for me in California, which is where I got born again and saved at 19. And then they did the same in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where that was the launch of my ministry. I went straight from Bible school to the mission field from Tulsa, Oklahoma at 24 years old. And so people gathered that knew me, because I had believed a lie about me. And I'm not, that's not my personality. I don't think enough to get depressed. I'm like on to the next thing. And I'm not a processor. I'm like, let's just go, and I didn't think it through. We're just going to go do it, and then when people start thinking, well, think about this, I'm like, no, come on, we'll figure it out as we go. Like, I don't have time to get depressed. I just think too much. I just am like going too fast, and I didn't realize, but at that time I got into some kind of spiritual depression, some kind of funk. And with those words of life that were spoken back to me at different seasons of my life of people who knew the real me, the real Lana, my song was sung back to me, and I rose up, and I'm telling you, we're walking in the most incredible days. I am the best that I've ever been, and it's because of this church and your leadership in this church and the people of this church and the relationships out of this church and Minju and Hubert and all these relationships. And so I just want to say thank you. You saved my life and you saved my ministry. And now we are just living in these unprecedented days. It's just, we've never even seen what we're seeing, the favor with the government, and not just one government, but governments and what God is doing. It's just amazing. So from my heart, I just want to tell you, that's who you are. You bring hope to people. You bring hope to leaders. Never forget the role of this church and who you are. You're a safe place. Bob said that you'll bring three things. You'll be rest, you'll bring refreshing, and you'll bring relationships. And that's what I found from Hope Church. I found rest, I found refreshing, and I found relationships. And so I just want to thank you all with all of my heart. And so can you go ahead and put up the Promised Land picture, please? I don't know, or do I have the thing? I'm not good at this, okay? I don't, thank you. I've been on the mission field for 17 years, so all these things I don't know how to use. Pastor Q, Miss Joy got me an iPhone watch, and I'm like, and they're like, yeah, it could do this, and it could do this, and so I don't even know what it does right now, but I love it. And so this is right now, update, we have 145 children in Thailand and Myanmar. This is the Promised Land. You sent the team that was just incredible. And this right now, we've just built our 16th family-style safe home. We have anywhere from 4 to 10 children living in the homes. And but one of the major things that I want to say thank you again that you were a part of is the worship center. If you see that big building in the middle right, kind of that huge, the biggest building on the land, that is the worship center. It is almost finished. In September, it will be completely finished, and you guys were a part of it. I heard Lam, spearheaded and kept hitting you guys and bugging you guys for money, and that was it. Actually, the whole children's center is going to be dedicated to Hope. It's going to be Hope Land, or either that or the chapel part, the Hope Chapel. And so God had given us. I don't know if you guys know the vision of it. God had showed us that what we do. It's Psalms 127:3-4. We don't just rescue children, but it says, as arrows in the hand of a mighty man, so our children of the youth, they won't be ashamed, but they will subdue and conquer the enemy at the gate. And I knew the Lord was speaking to me about children's homes, and I said, if any of you know my story, I said, I'm an evangelist. I want to win thousands, millions to you. I don't want to babysit 20 children and then Jesus come back and me and my 20 children, like Little House on the Prairie, go to heaven. That just sounds boring to me. And when I got radically saved at 19, I made 2 personal vendettas to God. One, I would tell as many people about Jesus Christ before the age 19 because nobody ever told me. And I was broke and I was a mess. And 2, I would protect innocent children. And so in that's when the Lord gave me Psalms 127, 3 through 5. And I said, but God, you know what I want to do with children. I want to rescue them, but I also want to raise them up to know you, make you known to them, to their own nation. And he said, in the Buddhist, Muslim, Hindu nations of the world, there's generations that don't know me, and there's generations that do know, that are gonna know me. You're gonna raise up a generation that knows me, and they'll make me known to their own nation, to their own country. You'll rescue these children in the darkest nations, in places where missionaries cannot go. The children will go to their own people and reach their own, and they will be the ones to stop the work of the enemy in their generation and in their own nation. And so in that, I was reading David and Solomon and how it was in the Father God's heart. And David said, it was in my father's heart. And then Solomon said, and it was in my father David's heart to build a place of worship. And if you continue reading, it said, and the Queen Sheba came. She was a pagan worshiper. And she came and when she saw that Solomon was young and inexperienced and what he had built, it was magnificent that she said, blessed be the Lord your God. And the Lord said, you are going to build a worship center. You're going to raise up a generation to know me. You're going to send them out to their own nations, and the Queen Shebas of the earth are going to come and say, blessed be the Lord your God, in a 98% Buddhist nation. Since that building is not finished, it'll be finished in September, but since then we've had the third of command of the Kingdom of Thailand. We've had the highest Burmese military ranking officials come. We've had the judicial branch of Bangkok come. They've toured around the land, and the third in command of the Kingdom of Thailand said to me, little girl, how did you do this? He said, did my government help you? And I said, no, sir, not one baht. And he said, did your government help you? And I said, no, sir, not $1. And he said, who helped you? And I said, my God did. They know we're Christian. In a 98% Buddhist country, and with the Burmese military, they're Christian killers. They know we're Christian, and yet God's bringing the Queen Shebas of the world, and the worship center isn't even open yet. It's going to be amazing. And if any of you know our story, to the right, so here's the worship center. To the right in that area, the far right, you could see like there's trees and then there's a blank piece of land. We just got another 17 acres. It's going to be for the boys' farm, boys' agricultural next step, like vocational training, and we're going to move all the older boys there. We just got enough for a football field so they can play football with their shirts off. Our older teenagers are complaining, saying, can you please, it's gross, they're sweaty, and they're running around with their shirts off. Can you please tell the boys to put their shirts back on? And so we're building a football field there. They're going to learn auto mechanics. They're going to learn motorcycle repair, welding, and then to the right of that plot of land is the ASEAN Highway, and this highway runs all the way up to China, all the way down to Singapore, and it's the new Silk Road of Asia. And God spoke to me and said, we're going to raise up arrows in that worship center, and we're going to send them all out on the highway, and these kids are going to be able to go into the closed countries like Malaysia, Bangladesh, Cambodia, all the closed countries around Bhutan, Burma, all these countries, and they're going to be our missionaries. They're going to be the arrows, and that worship center is going to be a place where they're sent out. So you guys are part of making history in Southeast Asia. It's the first worship center on the ASEAN Highway, and so on the new Silk Road of Asia. So I just wanted to give you that update, and thank you. Can you go to the next one so we can show them really quick? It's going to be incredible. Go to the next one, the big, yeah. So that's the inside, and then you keep going to the, you broke it up. I see what you said. Okay, go back, please. Thank you. So that is the back, that's the front. We're doing like a metal hand logo right in the front, change a life, change the world. And it holds at least 300. And we have a worship chapel kind of room where you can just go in and have 24-hour prayer as well. And so it's incredible. You guys are making a difference. And I just want to say thank you with all of my heart. Thank you guys. You can keep the Promised Land one up so they can just see it. Thank you so much. Another update on that ASEAN highway. The highway's finished, but they haven't finished the. It's like a kind of like a way station, and it's more like the checkpoints and all of that. We now just got our security trained by the same people that trained the Cambodian anti-trafficking unit, and so our guys are in hand-to-hand combat, how to disarm, how to stop a vehicle, and we're going to have a border monitoring system along with all the checkpoints. So wherever there's a checkpoint, a border checkpoint, Life Impact is going to have a place, and they're going to be able to, when the actual police, the border control is stopping the vehicle, we'll be able to be right there popping our head in and looking for the next child that's trafficked on the ASEAN highway. So it's crazy, it's unheard of, and recently the same ASEAN people, the ASEAN Committee, Thailand, our border, if you're coming up the mountain, it's about an hour drive. Thankfully, we can fly in from Bangkok, but if you're coming from Chiang Mai, you have to drive up an hour, and there's a sign that says, "Welcome to the gateway of Southeast Asia." And what the Lord just recently showed me about 2-3 years ago when I was reading Psalms 127, 3-5 again, I knew that they were going to be arrows in his hand. I knew that we were going to raise up our children, that they were rescued to rescue, that we were going to raise them up to know him and to make them known. But then he had me read further where it says, "And they will subdue and conquer the enemy at the gate." Gateways in the Bible are places of power, places of jurisdiction, places of authority. They're places of war. It's like if you can ward them off at the gate, then the enemy can't come in and take your city. They're like strongholds and fortresses. They're places where all the decisions are made, all the financial decisions, any kind of trial, any kind of thing, it's held at the gate. And God is showing me how he's raising up our children to have influence in government, influences, and actually just stop the works of the enemy right there. And part of the gate is exactly where we're supposed to be, on the Thai-Burma border in Mae Sot. It is unheard of. And what happened with all of that is ASEAN, like the committee came to us and they said, "We love your model, prevent, rescue, heal. We are dubbing you the Mae Sot model. And what the model that you have, we're going to pattern all over Southeast Asia." So any border in ASEAN in Southeast Asia, so that's Bangladesh, that's Laos, that's Cambodia, that's Brunei, all these countries, they're going to take on the Life Impact model of prevent, rescue, and heal, and we're dubbed the Mae Sot model, and it's just unheard of. They recently asked our child protection officer to be on the government board for child protection. There's only 5 people there, and we have a voice, and we have a seat in the government, and you have to understand, they don't really care about these children. They just want to kind of get rid of this problem, but we actually can be a voice for the voiceless, and we care, and God has strategically put us there to intercept and intervene on behalf of these little lives. So it is unheard of, unprecedented, and we're going to take Southeast Asia, and we're going to take the children back. So it's pretty incredible. So thank you for being a part of it. I want to read to you, and we're going to open up with this. I want to read to you what the word unprecedented means, because I really feel like that is the time that we are living in. I feel like this has been the word that has just been the mark for this year and what God's doing. And I feel like not just for us, but I feel like in the Spirit, this is what he's doing. And unprecedented means never done, never known or seen before. Unknown, new, novel, groundbreaking, revolutionary, pioneering, unparalleled, unequaled, and unmatched. Unrivaled. I feel like that is what God is doing in our lives, in our ministries, in our churches, and that's what it is. I feel like there was, I preached a message over in Malaysia to Brazil, and it's a message that I felt like God has given the church today for you, and I felt like everyone has kind of gone through a season of hell on earth for the past 1.5 to 2 years. It's been a really hard time from Brazil to Malaysia to Thailand to the U.S. Every single pastor or every single leader I've talked about, they said this has been the hardest time in our life, in our ministry, in our marriage, in our family, in our church. Like this has been just the hardest time we've ever been through. And I feel like now it was like going from the wilderness to the promised land. And I feel like now it's a season of rest and a season of the promised land and a season of life being sweet and a season of it being unprecedented once again. And I just, that's a message I have for you today. I want you to turn over to 1 Samuel. And we'll start at 1 Samuel 30, Actually, we'll start at 29, verse 9. And actually, then the word or the title of my message, if you wanted to title it, is "The War is Over." And actually, I brought Miss Hannah. She's my backup singer. There's this song. I don't know if you've heard it from Bethel. It's called "The War is Over. Turn around, lay your weapons on the ground." And we're going to sing it over you during a time of ministry. Hannah's going to be back up. I'm going to get on the guitar and sing over you. If you know me, you know I'm joking right now because I can't sing. But I feel like God just has a very special time for you. The message He gave me is "The war is over. The God of restoration has come." And I just believe now we're in a season, when you go through war and when you go through battle, even though you had the victory. When I was going through that hardest time, I knew I had the victory. We had incredible things going on. It wasn't like our ministry was falling apart. It wasn't like, we had incredible things. We knew we had the victory. We knew we were coming out of it. And we knew, we knew God was good, all these different things. And so we went in the battle and we won in the end. But there had to be a season of restoration because during that time we had lost so much. Even soldiers, when they go to war and they come back, they need a time of R and R, and they need a time of just restoring their souls and just their hearts and their mind. And I just feel like right now that God is just going to give you a time of restoration, that the war is over, that God is going to give us just a place of rest, even though we've been just fighting the good fight of faith. And I just see like restoration, kind of like restoration hardware, the most expensive furniture on the planet. I don't know if you guys have one here. Do you guys have one on the East Coast? And I see it, and it is the most beautiful thing. But like a doorknob is like $50, but you look, and it's because they made it like weathered, or they made it antique. But at the same time, it is so gorgeous and so beautiful. And I just look and I just remember, there was a pastor when I was going through a really hard time, and just a leader in Australia, and he said, "Lana, I heard what you were going through," and he said, it's when you have wounds or when you have scars, they're okay. It's okay to have scars. It's okay to have marks. It shows that you've been through something. It shows a strength and a fortification. It shows that you've been around a little bit, that you've warred and you've won. And he said it's okay to have scars, but don't let there be open wounds, because open wounds will get infected, and open wounds are dangerous, and you could die from open wounds. Scars are okay, but open wounds are not. And I just believe it's time for God to heal all wounds, and there's just a beauty in that. So let's start reading, and I want to just look at David's situation and David's time, and then we're going to have a special time of ministry. I saw this happening actually. I was getting ready to speak at Rock, and God was downloading in me another message for a thing I did last night, and then here, and I'm like, God, I'm going to speak at Rock. Like I need to be ready for them. It's tonight. Hello, and so I saw this happening. I saw Hannah coming with me. I saw us singing over you, her singing over you, not me. I saw us ministering over you, and I just saw life and just pieces of your soul and your heart and your family and your ministry and your marriage. I just saw it being completely restored once and for all. And then I walked into Rock and I saw Hannah leading. And so I walked, and I was going to ask her and I was going to tell her, and then I didn't. And I was going to say, hey, will you come with me to Hope? Will you come with me to Hope? And I kept thinking, and then I didn't. And so they came, and I just looked at her and I was like, you're going to come with me to Hope, all right? And she's like, okay. And Jason's like, well, what about me, And I said, I just need her. He already knows that I think she's a better singer. All right. 1 Samuel 29:9, and we'll start at 9 through 11. And it says, and then Achish answered and said to David, I know that you are as good in my sight as an angel of God. Nevertheless, the princes of the Philistines have said, he shall not go up with us to the battle. Now, therefore, rise early in the morning with your master's servants who have come with you. And as soon as you are up early in the morning and have light, depart. So David and his men rose early to depart in the morning and to return to the land of the Philistines. And the Philistines went up to Jezreel. Now it happened when David and his man came to Ziklag, not Zigzag, on the third day that the Amalekites had invaded the south, and Ziklag, attacked Ziklag and burned it with fire. let's just pause right there. Let me give you a backstory because it's too much to read. David was doing what David does. He was conquering, he was winning, he was taking place to place, city to city. He was a great warrior. He was on the top of his game. He was succeeding. He was doing what he was created to do. He was winning, and that's all he knew. I say he's kicking butt and taking numbers, and that's what he was doing. They were just victorious, and the head said, you know, you're going to be with me forever. What you've done is please me. You're going to be with me forever. You're going to be my right hand. You're going to be the guy. He got promoted right then. Forever is what he said. And then just at one moment, like just at one time, it was just like one chapter. His life went from here all the way to here. And the same time, right when he got promoted, he got demoted. And then you see they had to leave early in the morning. He got rejected. And then he got embarrassed or humiliated. And so he comes back, and you have to, when you come from war, you know, you come and you're already tired. And he comes back and he sees smoke in his household, in his village, and where he's at, where he's from. And they look, and so they start riding, you know, faster and faster and start going. And they come and they see their whole village had been burnt with fire. Now let's keep looking. So what happened is it went from here to here really fast. And he started to basically, we'll see, but he starts to lose everything. Everything. His position, his job, his family, his marriage, everything. And had taken, and so he attacked Ziklag and burned it with fire, and had taken captive the women and those who were there from small to great. And they did not kill anyone, but carried them away and went their way. So David and his men came to the city, and let me pause there for a second. You know, this popped out to me, and it's so we could just read over this, but it said they did not kill anyone, but carried them away and went their way. Do you know that if the devil could completely destroy your marriage or your finances or something, he would have already. He can't. He can just scare you. He can just, you know, mess with you. He can't. If he could have killed me, he would have already. If he could have killed you, he would have already. If the enemy could have done it, he would have already, but he can't. He can. It's just false evidence. It's fear, false evidence appearing real. And I didn't, like, I just, for some reason, it's just popping out, and I just feel like somebody needs to hear that. For me, I don't know if you know my testimony. It's pretty long, but I like almost died 6 times and just different things. And the enemy tried to get me to self-destruct before the age 19. But now looking back, like I have miraculous where like an angel rescued me like from a crazy place in Mexico, like and just in different places where God's hand was on me. And I look back, and if the devil could have killed me, if he could have, he would have already. He was trying to, because he knew what was going to happen. He knew something great was going to happen with my life. He knew, and so he was trying to, but he couldn't. I'm here right now, and so I just want to tell you, if he could have done that, he would have already. He's not as powerful as we think he is. Let's keep going. From small to great, they did not kill anyone, but carried them away and went their way. So David and his men came to the city, and there it was, burned with fire, and their wives, their sons, and their daughters had been taken captive. Then David and the people who were with him lifted up their voices and wept until they had no more power to weep. I don't know if you've ever gone through a situation where you've cried till you have no more strength to cry. I was there on Christmas, New Year's, when I was going through some of the hardest time. We had lost a baby. I shared about this last time. We had lost our very first child, 17 years of doing this, hundreds and thousands of children that we've worked with, and I'd never had a baby die on my watch. And we call him Baby David, but he was actually 8. He just had the frame of a 3-year-old. And I just remember being in New Year's and Christmas and not like, and just feeling like I can't even worship. Like I can't even, you know, everyone's excited. It's a new year. Everyone's prophesying about this new year. It's Christmas and joy to the world. And I was in my hotel room with a rescued girl, and I'm sitting there and I'm just like weeping, and I have no strength. And I cried until I couldn't cry anymore. I know what that means. I know what he went through. And I just remember, it's like I was telling the leadership team at Grace Retreat, usually I'm a Bible school student. I'm a word of faith girl. I'm a faith like victory girl. You'll never hear negative and doubt out of my mouth. But at that point, I didn't have any more strength to fight. And I just remember having the Bible next to me and just saying, God, like, I don't even have strength to like read my Bible right now. Like, I don't even have strength to find, I know what you do. You find your promise and it's like you grab a rope. The Bible says that the word of God is an anchor to the soul. And so you grab onto that anchor and you climb yourself up back into the ship, and I know what to do. I know how to do it, and different things. I've done it before a million times, but this time I didn't have strength anymore to fight. I was weeping until I had no more strength to weep. I had lost so much. And I just remember being there, and I knew better, though, to not stay there. And so I put worship on, and I would just had my hands, I put them as much as I could go, and they were down here. And I just sat there, and I just let the worship just wash over me. And then the next day, my hands got a little higher. My hands got a little higher. My hands got a little higher. And finally, they were full blown again, And I just remember saying to God, I don't even know what to say to you, and I don't even know what you can say to me. Like, I'm so broken. I'm so hurting. I lost a baby. I don't even know. And I was grieving doubly because my first son from my first home, he was raising baby David. So actually, baby David was like my grandchild. And then my son from my home was saying, how come God didn't heal him? How come, and he was just saying, thought we were going to see a miracle. We told all the villages we were going to see a miracle. And he said, and then he just looked at me and said, I have no more son. And it's just like, and so I was grieving for my son, and I was grieving for my grandbaby. And finally at one point, it was just like, okay. And I just remember saying to the Lord, I don't know what you can say. I don't know what I can say that would change anything. I can't confess my way, the word of God out of this. I don't know what to do. And the Lord I just heard him so gently. And he's like, you don't need to say anything, and I don't need to say anything. I just want you to know I'm sitting down right here with you. I'm right here. And when you're ready to talk, I'm right here. I'm not going with you. I'm right here with you. And it was just like at that moment, I just knew he was right, in the mess, in the midst of it, in the pain, in all of it, he was right there with me. And he didn't need to say anything. His presence was enough. And just knowing he is right there with me. God is right there in the midst of whatever pain, whatever hurt, whatever heartache, whatever we're going through. He is right there in the midst of us, even when we don't know how to do the right things. But I love this because David knew how to do the right things. And you need to see how and what to do during these times and how he did it. And so basically the people who were with him, one day he's their hero, one day he's their example, one day he's the leader, one day he can do no wrong. He's like King David, warrior. He's this incredible guy. And then the next day they want to stone him. Next day he's their enemy. Next day, he's just this defeated guy. Next day they're blaming it on him. And let's keep looking. Now, David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the soul of all people was grieved, every man for his sons and his daughters. Look at this. But David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. Sometimes people can turn, and you could be the best thing since sliced bread, and then the next time it's like you're the greatest enemy. It's just because when people are going through things, sometimes it's human nature to blame. And that's what we have to realize. Like in marriages, in different things, in friendships, and all of it, sometimes it's just when we're going through stuff, it's human nature to blame the other person, to blame our spouse, to blame something, and not to realize it's our own grief, it's our own pain, it's what we're going through. But it's easier and more relief to put it on somebody else. And so I just love, though, David's response. David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. And if you don't know how to do that, you put on worship music, you get in the word, you let it wash over you, you listen to messages, you grab onto the hope, just some passages of hope, and you strengthen yourself in the Lord your God, and that will set you apart from everybody else. And I love that. Number one, on David's worst day, what did he do? He strengthened himself in the Lord his God. Now let's jump to number 2, and this is the second thing that David did. And it said, so David inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I pursue this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him and said, pursue, for you shall surely overtake them, and without fail recover all. So one, David strengthened himself in the Lord his God, and that's what set him apart from anybody else. He didn't blame, he didn't put it on anybody else. He took responsibility and he strengthened himself in the Lord his God. And number two, he inquired of the Lord. He sought the Lord. Lord, okay, what do I do now? It's the worst day of my life. I've lost everything. I've lost my wife. I've lost my children. I've lost my job. I've lost my position. I've lost my honor. I've lost everything. I've lost everything. What do I do now? He inquired of the Lord. And I just love, so let's keep going. And it says, so the Lord told him, pursue, and you will recover all. And so David went, he and the 600 men who were with him, and came. You have to remember how tired these men were, how broken these men were. Like they were just desperate. You have to remember the strength, or just what they were doing, everything they could, the emotional state, the physical state of these men, and came to the brook Besor, where they stayed, where they were left behind. But David pursued, and he and 400 men, for 200 stayed behind, who were so weary that they could not cross the brook Besor. Okay, so pay attention to that number, 400. And let's just jump down. God supernaturally, they left behind a slave that was, they're too tired, too weak to go. And God supernaturally positioned David's men to find this guy, to lead him to the enemy, to lead him to the army. And look what happened. And when he had brought him down, verse 16, and when he had brought him down, there they were spread out all over the land, eating and drinking and dancing, because of all the great spoil which they had taken from the land of the Philistines and from the land of Judah. The enemy was just rejoicing because he thought he had won. He thought he had gotten us. He thought he had gotten us to quit, to give up on ministry, to give up on our dreams, to give up on our hope, to give up on our family, to give up on our marriages, on our kids. He was just rejoicing. The enemy was rejoicing, just thinking, yes, I'd won. They'd given up. There's no way they're going to come back. There's no way they're going to come back from this. And let's keep looking. And it says, then David attacked from the twilight until the evening of the next day. Not a man of them escaped, except 400 young men who rode on camels and fled. Do you see those numbers? Like they were completely outnumbered. 400. It said not a man escaped except 400. Those were the ones that got away. That was like the few. They were completely outnumbered, and they were young men, so they were strong. Okay, and David's men were tired and weak, and it was completely outnumbered. It looked like it was impossible. The situation looked outnumbered and impossible. And let's keep looking. And it said, so David recovered all that the Amalekites had carried away, and David rescued his 2 wives. And I love this part. And none of theirs was lacking, either small or great, sons or daughters, spoil or anything which they had taken from them, for David recovered all. I believe that we are living in a day where the God of restoration, a season of restoration, where we are going to recover all that the enemy tried to take from us. Our hope, our dreams, our vision, our families, our marriages, whatever the enemy has tried to attack in this year and a half and these 2 years of hell, it is a season of R&R for us. It's a season of rest and recovery, recovering all that the enemy tried to do in our finances, in our future, in all of it. I just believe that the God of restoration is here, and we're in a season of restoration, and anything small and anything great, we are going to recover all. We're going to recover the time that we were spent weeping and crying and just upset about this. We're going to recover everything from time to relationships. You know, when I was so broken and things happened and I felt like I lost some very important relationships, do you know that it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me? Because from that, it made room for some of the most incredible relationships that are so strategic and so important for my future and for the future of Life Impact. It is time for us to recover all, from small to great. And I feel like sometimes that people are all like, they're just like, oh, this is just so little, you know, compared to everything else, compared to you know, rescue children in Thailand, compared to all of these things and all the stuff. My issue or my thing is just so little. My problem is just a first world problem. It's so little. But I love that God loves every single individual so much much that he wrote it here, from small to great, from the little things of your heart to the big things, from the little desires that you've just put on the side to the great big things, to the relationships with family, to all these different things, from small to great. You are going to recover all. You know, the Lord gave me another title of this message is nothing missing, nothing lacking, nothing broken. The God of restoration has come. He wants nothing missing, nothing lacking, nothing broken. And I just believe that we are living in a season of unprecedented where nothing is going to be missing in our lives, in our hearts, in our ministries, in our visions, in our dreams, in our finances. Nothing is going to be lacking. We're not going to lack for any good thing. We're going to have more than enough for every good work. You're going to get those 100 backpacks. There's no reason you should not have 100 backpacks. Nothing missing, nothing lacking, nothing broken. No more broken hearts, no more broken relationships, no more, even if it's a fine hairline crack. Do you know in Thailand we have brand new buildings. That worship center is brand new, but they do cement a different way. My dad's built like half of Los Angeles. He built the new IKEA in Burbank. So I've been raised around cement pours. So I know cement. Like that's what I've been going on these job sites with him forever. And he always takes us around. Even when I was a little girl, I didn't really care, but he just showed me and I just think, oh, they're so high, you know? And, but I know cement. And so now I see why. But we're building worship centers and houses, family style safe homes. But you'll walk in, it'll be a brand new home, never lived in, brand new. And we do finished concrete because it's cheaper. And they'll be finished concrete. And what they don't do is they don't leave it's like a rivet. It's like a cut in the concrete. And what happens is when the pressure comes on the cement, when the pressure is put after everything, the roof's on and everything's done, the rebar's done, there's a pressure that comes on the cement. And it always happens. And they have to leave somewhere for where the pressure to go, for the pressure to run and the pressure to escape. But they don't do that in Thailand. We do that in America. That's why you see sidewalks. They're not completely poured. They're like step and step and step. That's so the pressure, when you step on it, it won't crack because the pressure goes in those rivets. It can only take so much pressure. But when all the pressure comes on it, the pressures of life, the pressure of everything, and there's nowhere for it to run, there's no relief, it cracks. And so we have these beautiful walls, finished, complete. Nobody's ever even been in there. And we have fine hairline cracks. And when I walk in, it's the first thing I see. And I'm telling you, we can have these beautiful walls. We can put on our Sunday face, just like I did, you know, put on all of this and have these hairline fractures and these hairline cracks that are in our beautiful walls. And I just believe that it's time for the Lord to fill all of those hairline cracks, to fill it, and for it to be done once and for all so it doesn't come up. So I want a special time of ministry with you. I want to pray for you. Hannah, could you come up, please? And the worship team could just be on cue and on call. I'm not trying to keep you crazy long today. I heard last time, like, I kept you way too long, and so, but I don't want to keep you long. And she's going to sing "The War's Over," and I just believe, you know, in those hairline cracks, I believe there are issues that we've pushed down. You know that, and I believe that there are things that they don't. It's not going to affect us now. We're good. You know, we made it through. We're good. But there's still, he wants nothing missing, nothing lacking, nothing broken. He wants all of those hairline cracks sealed and whole so you can walk into the unprecedented season of God for your life. You know, in the promised land, they had to go through the wilderness. But then when they came to the promised land, it was the land flowing with milk and honey. It was so sweet and so rich. And I believe that it's time for us for life to be sweet again. That's what God's been saying to me. Life has been so sweet. It's been so good and so sweet. Everybody comes to me and says, aren't you exhausted? Aren't you so tired? And I'm like, no, I'm so excited. Like, I'm loving the season. I'm back. I'm me again. And I just feel like there's nothing missing. There's nothing broken. There's nothing lacking in my heart, in my soul, in my ministry, in Life Impact. There's such a fullness of God again in my life. And it's so sweet and it's so beautiful. And I believe that it's for the body of Christ. If we're going to walk into this unprecedented season of what God has, of supernatural provision and just a sweet time in our marriage and our families, and just a revival with our kids, and just a sweet time in our church, you know, even going through through transition. You guys have gone through some transition in moving buildings. You know what I mean? And even in transition, sometimes we can lose a couple things, or, you know, there can be some little breaks or like little holes, or, oh, I missed that person, or I missed this, you know? And God just wants to fill all of those gaps. God just wants to fill and heal things that you didn't even think about. There was a time, my dad, I don't know if you guys, I've told this story here, but my dad is this big Mexican guy. My mom's white. And so my dad's this big Mexican guy, and I'm not adopted. I'm half. And he's huge. He's huge. He's like two of me and as big as the door. He's no joke. He's bigger than Richard. And he's as big as the door. Not saying Richard's two of me. He's not. He's just one. But I meant tall like Richard, okay? He's tall like Richard. And he's just this big guy. And actually, my dad that's why my mom left my dad when we were 13. I was 13. My little brother was 9. My dad was an alcoholic and abusive. And so we had a broken, relationship broken. And my parents were young. My mom actually was 16 and my dad was 18 when they had me. So it was just like they were kids themselves, so they didn't know what they were doing. And it was just, there was just a broken relationship with my father. And it caused me to go kind of wild. I was already a little wild. But at 13, it caused me to go even more wild, which is scary. And so I just went kind of off the deep end. And I just remember, like, my dad was never there. We just kind of survived. I grew up really fast. I started working at 16. And I just never had a childhood. Like, I never had, and that's why I'm so passionate about kids being able to play and have a childhood and just being able to be kids and not having the responsibility of the world on their shoulder, and 7-year-old little girls not having to take care of their 1-year-old brother and worry about how they're going to eat and how, she's going to feed them. And that's why it's personal for me. It's very personal. And so I got radically saved at 19. My dad, when I was 13, he took off. He went like on a drunken binge and then went to go build the Fresno jail and ended up in the drunk driving, ended up in the jail that he built. And just crazy, it was just crazy. And he was just not there. And I got born again, radically saved, and just kind of wasn't around, in and out. And all of a sudden he asked if he could take me to Bible school. I was going to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was the first one from California to leave my family in California. And they said, my Mexican grandma said, "Mija, don't go. You don't understand. They don't like you there. The KKK, they'll get you. You don't understand. You're Mexican." My grandpa's half Cherokee Indian, so I'm a quarter Cherokee Indian. He said, "They don't like Indians there, American Indians. They will hang you or they will put you on the stake and burn you. Don't go, or you'll freeze to death. It's cold." And she's like, don't go to Tulsa. So either way, you're not going to come out alive of Bible school. And so anyways, my dad went, and there was a bet because he has a very strong personality. I get it from my grandma and my dad. My mom is sweet and passive and really good. And so he has a very strong personality. And he said, and so they had a bet. Either she's going to backslide or he's going to get saved, because you can't put those two strong personalities in a car and not one of them give. Like, one of them's going to break. And I didn't know, but my dad was staying up for like 24 hours or 48 hours for the whole ride to Tulsa. And so I had it all planned. Like, I played every single song that he could get saved. And like, I had every single salvation evangelist. Like, I had the whole road trip mapped out, man. I had like all these salvation songs and, make the decision now. And, and I turned it up, and he was pretending like he was asleep, but he was awake that whole time. And then he told me, "Lana, I'll go with you to church." And I've been like asking him to go to church for like a year. He said, "I'll go with you to church if you go with me to Laughlin Casino." And I was like, oh gosh. And I was raised, he was a gambler, so I was raised around that. So that ding, ding, ding just like made me just cringe on the inside. And so I was like, okay, anything for Jesus, anything for his salvation. I'll go with you to the casino, even though I hate casinos to this day. So I'll go with you to the casino. And I said, "But you're coming with me to church." And so I went with him, and I'll never forget it. I didn't even, I just knew in God, I'm 21. And I remember I get one of the coins. My dad gives me it because he wants to keep me quiet so he could go and gamble, right? So he gives me one. He goes, "Go play the slot machines." I think it was $1 coin or whatever. He goes, "Go play these slot machines, and I'll meet back up with you." And so I remember I go to put it in the slot machine, and the Lord said, "Don't ever do this again. You're going to have thousands of dollars pass through your hands for the rescue of humanity, and don't you ever do this again." I said, okay. I threw it in there, walked away. I don't even know if it won. Somebody probably won, And so I'll get way more money than this for the rescue of humanity. And I said, and I want you to be faithful. And I said, yes, sir. Never did it again. And so anyways, he went to church. My dad, there was a famous speaker, and my dad, he was there, and he never stepped foot in a Christian church. We were raised Catholic, never stepped foot in a Christian church before. And he looked around, and he's like, oh my, what is this, And I remember the preacher said, grab the person to the right of the left and break the power of drugs and alcohol over their life. And I grabbed my dad's big arm, and I broke the power of drugs and alcohol over his life. And next thing I look, I see those big hands that used to hit us up worshiping the Lord. And my dad said, what happened to me? What happened to me? Something happened to me. And he said, can we stay and do that again? And so we stayed for the next service, and he did the same thing again. And then I got and my dad got saved. Well, he went back into Catholic church, and so he didn't grow much. And so he kind of went, he hasn't drank ever since. He got instantly delivered from alcohol. Hasn't drank ever since, but still went back into like not growing in God and kind of like backslide, and so fast forward, I really still didn't have a strong relationship. I'm in Thailand, never came to visit me, and so I wasn't strong. But when I was in Bible school, I remember I was walking and praying, and I wasn't even thinking about this, and God said, you haven't been shown a good example of an earthly father. And he said, so what I want you to do is I want you to forget everything you know of an earthly dad and let me show you a heavenly father. And so God has been my father since I was 20. Okay, so I never felt like I was missing or lacking anything, even though he wasn't in my life. Do you know, since the day I got saved, he's been my husband, he's been my father, he's been my everything, he's been my all in all. I've never lacked for anything. And so when he said that to me, it's been like that. I never felt like I was an orphan or had an orphan's heart. I felt like I knew my heavenly father as my earthly dad. Like he filled that gap. He filled that hole in my life. So I didn't feel like I needed anything or I even wanted a relationship with my dad because he was enough. He was more than enough. I didn't need anything anymore. And fast forward, my dad was going through a really hard time actually, and some things were going on. And my dad said, I'm just going to fly to Thailand and come see you. And I said, all right, come on. And so my dad came to Thailand to come see me. I didn't know he had started doing some pills and stuff, and so he is taking Vicodin, and he was just out of it, and I just thought, all of a sudden, all this trauma from my childhood and all this stuff came back, and I'm in the car, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to put him back on the plane, and I'm going to say, you haven't been in my life since I was 19 years old. I didn't need you then, and I sure don't need you now. We've never even had a relationship. You don't even need to be here. You can just go back home. We've done pretty good. God's taken good care of me. He's been a father. I don't need you now. You haven't been in my life since 13. And so I was about to say that. My mouth went open to say that. And the Lord, and basically the Lord spoke to me and he said, honor your mother and father, for it's the first commandment with promise. And I said, but God, my dad has not been an honorable man. And he said, I didn't ask you that, did I? And I said, he doesn't deserve my honor. He doesn't deserve my respect. He doesn't deserve that place in my heart and in my life. He doesn't deserve it. And he said, you didn't deserve salvation, and I gave it to you freely. You didn't deserve it, and I gave it to you. Honor your mother and father, for it's the first commandment with promise. And in honoring your father, you'll honor me, Lana. Honor your father. And in honoring your father, you'll honor me. And I said, but I want to honor you. I've honored you with my life. This is too hard of what you're asking. Because I was literally turning the wheel to put him back on the flight to go back to the Chiang Mai airport, and all of a sudden my wheel turned. Holy Spirit was turning my wheel. Take the wheel. Jesus was really taking the wheel, because there's no way that I turned that wheel to go back on the highway to go to Mesot. And I remember just arguing with God, I don't want to bring my dad around my kids. I don't want them to see this. I don't want them to see what I had to see as a child. I don't want them to see what I was raised in. This place is pure. This place is holy. These kids don't know this anymore. I don't want to bring this to this pure and holy place that you've given to us. I don't want my kids to experience this, to know this. And again, so we're just arguing. My dad's passed out, doesn't even know what's happening in the passenger. I'm just arguing with God. Don't even talk to him for the whole 4.5-hour flight, 4.5-hour drive. And I'm just mad. I'm crying. I'm talking to God, saying the same thing. I'm like, it's not too late. You make a U-turn and get back to the airport, And then I'm looking every hour. God, are you sure we could just U-turn this, And then finally we get to the promised land. And my dad gets out, and all these little kids run up to him and start hugging around his knees, because they're like little and he's big, so that they come to like here. And they're like, Papa, 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 Papa. And my dad's like, Lana, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? And I said, Dad, you're their grandpa. Like, that you're the only grandpa they've ever known. Like they see you as their grandpa. I'm their mom, And I just remember my dad, it just broke him and just melted him. My dad gets in the truck. We get in the truck. And I've never seen, my dad's only cried. He's a big Mexican. We have a word for it, machismo. Latin word. It means prideful, big Mexican guy, And we get in the truck. I've only seen my dad cry. This was the third time. First time was when my mom left him and he begged us to tell my mom to go back to him. And 2, the movie The Color Purple. And 3, I'll never forget because I saw my dad cry. I never saw him cry. And 3, when we got in that truck and he looked at me and he said, Lana, these kids would be dead if it wasn't for you guys. Like, these kids would be dead. And he told me, you've told me about Jesus all this time, but today I saw Jesus. And my dad rededicated his life to the Lord. And he went back and he told my stepmom and brought my stepmom to church and my stepbrother and his wife and their children and my other stepbrother. And now all of them take up a whole pew in the same church that I got saved at. After I asked my dad, after I asked God, I said, God, I didn't even ask you for that. I didn't even ask you for that. Like, why did you do that? I didn't even ask you for that. And he said, Lana, you think like this. He said, I think generationally. He said, I want nothing lacking, nothing missing, nothing broken. And even though you think that you don't need a father in your life, your children need a grandfather. I think so much longer and greater than you. I want nothing missing, nothing lacking, nothing broken. Do you understand that God gave me the thing I didn't even ask for? I feel like there's things and there's hairline cracks that God wants to heal and give you what you don't even know you need and what you didn't even ask for. I really got strong in my heart that God wants to restore all the time that was lost in the time of weeping or the time of hurt or the time of pain, the time in marriages and families, the time that was lost, that joy, that time of sweetness that you lost during that war and during that time of battle, that God is even going to restore the time. So this is what I want to do. I want, as many of you, I just want you to come up. I'm going to pray for all of you. I want everyone, like, if you feel comfortable, to come up, and I'm just going to pray for you. Yeah, thank you. I'm just going to do like a kind of mass prayer, and then I'm going to have Hannah just sing this song over you called "The War's Over." So if you want prayer, just come up. I'm not going to do like an individual. I just believe God's just going to restore things. He's going to restore time. He's going to restore dreams. He's going to restore vision. He's going to restore marriages. He's going to restore families. And he's going to restore finances. And I just believe she's going to sing this over you. And I just want you to put your arms out and just let the Lord wash over you. Let him fill those hairline cracks. Let him give you things that you're not even asking for. Let him show you that it's so much bigger. It's so much bigger. From small to great. Even the things that you think are so small, they are so significant. He wrote it in his book. It is so significant to God. You mean so much. You're a big deal to him. So if it's big to you, it's big to him. The Lord said he would perfect that which concerns you. So it doesn't matter how small or how great. If it's concerning you, it concerns him. That's how much he loves you. That's how much he loves humanity. That's how much you mean to him individually. That's how much it's not just rescued children in Thailand. It's you right here. It was my relationship with my Father that I didn't even ask for, that I didn't even need. I felt like I had all that I needed. But he was thinking so much greater. He wanted nothing missing, nothing lacking, nothing broken, a complete wholeness and restoration in my life. And he wants it for you in every area. I'm about to get mad. Every stinking area. Every area. In your finances, in your marriage. And even if times, let's say it's over. The war's over. Yes, it is over. And you came out and you didn't give up. And you came out and you fought for it. You fought for your family, you fought for your finances, and you fought the good fight of faith. And it's not over. You didn't quit. You made it. You made it. You made it. But the Lord even just wants to restore that time that was lost. Everything from small to great. From small to great, even as small as time. The time of sweetness, the time of joy, the time that you had together as a couple, the time that you had as a family. He even wants to restore that. So this is what I'm going to do. this song, to me, I just had it, even when I came out of this season, I was in a new season, it was so good. But I would just play this on repeat, and I'd just sit on my couch and just let this song wash over me, and I'd just cry. Tears of refreshing, tears of restoration, tears of joy. And there was just such a restoring that came on. And Hannah's going to sing this over you. And just such, the God of restoration is going to meet you. And even those hairline fracture cracks, even just those, Dr. Sung would know, just those small adjustments that need to be made. If you keep walking like that, it's not good. Your body starts to compensate. You start to compensate for the little thing that's just off a little bit instead of getting adjusted and having it whole. And you compensate in ways that you wouldn't even know, in insecurity, in fear, in just not stepping out in certain things. Like you start to compensate just because of these hairline fractures or just because of these things that are just off. And God just needs to adjust everything, adjust your vision, your sight, your dreams, your marriage, your family, your finances again. So she's going to sing, just put your hands out and let the Lord just do what only He can do. And just wash over you and start to restore every single thing that the locust has eaten, every single second, every single hour, every single penny, every single conversation, every single relationship. Let Him just restore all that the locust had tried to take.